Alemite has been in the lubrication fitting business for over 100 years, supplying the world over with the most popular styles of lubrication fittings used in the market today. In this video, we are focusing on the most commonly used fitting coupler combination we offer, the Alemite Hydraulic System. A bit of history leading up to the introduction of the Alemite hydraulic fittings. In 1918, Alemite introduced the first original lubrication system, the pin-type fittings like this one, using a twist-lock coupler which creates a positive leak-proof seal under high pressure. In less than 10 years, this became the industry standard for lubrication until the acquisition of the Allen Zerk company, which brought around the introduction of the Alemite push-type, or Zerk as they were nicknamed. These, along with the pin-type fittings, again secured Alemite as the industry standard system for high-pressure lubrication. Then in 1933, Alemite once again introduced what quickly became one of the most popular and still current industry standards, the Alemite Hydraulic Lubrication System. This lubrication fitting system is everywhere, on cars and trucks, lawn, farm, and mining equipment. The list of locations is endless. So let's explain some of the features of the fitting and the coupler, then demonstrate how these are used properly so you have a better understanding how the system works and how to use it safely. Let's take a closer look at the couplers. I have disassembled two of our narrow couplers to show both available sealing options we offer. First is our standard metal seal. It is concave, so when mated with the fitting, it seals along the contoured edge of the fitting and allows for a complete seal up to 15 degrees in any direction. The second style adds a rubber seal that contacts the flat surface of the fitting as the first sealing surface, and the metal sleeve contacts the angled surface of the fitting, again allowing for a seal up to 15 degrees in any direction. When connected to a fitting, the jaws securely hold the coupler in place to keep a firm seal while dispensing. They are also designed in such a way to clamp harder as pressure builds, so the coupler would not pop off unexpectedly. Our narrow couplers do not have the capability to reverse the jaws if they wear out. However, if you are using our larger standard couplers, the sleeves can be removed and the jaws reversed to extend the life of the couplers. Let's turn our attention to the fitting. The Alemite hydraulic fitting has many different variants depending on the application, but connecting tip remains the same. Most important item to remember, these areas are the sealing surfaces depending on the coupler used, so it is important to keep these clean and free of debris and damage. Here is a perfect example of a damaged fitting that would require replacement. If you notice on the ridge there is a heavy nick on the sealing edge. This would cause leakage, so the fitting must be replaced. For this reason, always fully clean and examine the fittings prior to use. Another important feature of these fittings is the dirt excluding ball check. The purpose of this ball is to prevent dirt, debris, or moisture from entering the lubrication point, causing damage, and prevent lubricant leakage from the bearing. It is not, however, designed to hold sustained high pressure on the back end of the ball. The majority of lubrication points are simply ball joints and bearings with dust boots to keep out contamination and should not see very much back pressure on the backside of the fitting. If your application requires back pressure protection or high pressure leak protection, please refer to our leak-proof fittings we offer. Additionally, for those fittings that do not have a ball check or have a threaded cap to seal them from the elements, they may require an additional but optional cover cap to keep them clean and sealed from contamination. Placement of fittings varies widely on a piece of equipment. This is where following our application guide is important. Dimensions such as fitting shank length and turning radius, as well as the coupler angularity of contact to the fitting, are some of the key pieces of information to follow when designing a new piece of equipment or replacing existing worn or damaged fittings. Following this guide assists with proper placement of fittings for easier access so lubrication equipment may be used properly and as designed. Check for a link in the description to access the guide and to access our catalog with dimensional information on our fittings. Let's demonstrate how to properly attach and detach the coupler from the fitting. First, completely clean both the coupler tip and the fitting of any dirt and debris. Do not want any of this entering the lubrication point or fail to allow a perfect seal to form. Next, examine the fitting for any pitting damage or blockages. Replace the fitting if any is found. To attach the coupler, remember this phrase: install at an angle, remove at an angle. Set the coupler at an angle to the hydraulic fitting tip, and while firmly pressing down, roll the coupler onto the fitting. You should feel the jaws clamp down and click into position. Optimal dispensing is directly in line with the fitting nipple, but the coupler may hold a complete seal at up to 15 degrees in any direction. When removing the coupler, first ensure the pressure has been relieved between the fitting and the coupler. If this does not occur on its own, tilt the coupler to one side, passing the 15-degree seal, and allow for pressure to bleed off. Once the coupler feels loose, continue pressing the coupler past the 15 degrees and give it a twist. This should disengage the jaws from the fitting and allow for a clean removal of the coupler. That is the correct way to attach and detach the standard grease coupler under optimal conditions where the fitting is easily accessible. For this next segment, I must preface with some disclaimers. The use of non-Alemite couplers or fittings with genuine Alemite couplers and fittings, or any combination thereof, may result in varying performance. If you attempt any of the stated procedures in this video, you do so at your own risk of injury and damage to equipment. We will not be held liable for any injury or damage to equipment resulting from a difficult to remove coupler. So, with that out of the way, I would probably receive some interesting comments if I left out discussing this situation, a difficult to remove coupler. Under normal operation, pressure should dissipate almost as fast as you dispense into the fitting, leaving the coupler free to move around and disconnect. But in cases where the fitting may be blocked by contamination or the bearing is heavily impacted with grease beyond its usable life, the coupler jaws will clamp down on the fitting, creating a rigid connection. Let's be clear here, this is by design. The jaws of the coupler are doing their job of holding a seal under high pressure and preventing high pressure lubricant spray. However, a coupler fitting connection holding pressure like this is a very dangerous situation to be around. If you find yourself facing a rigid connection like this, first and foremost, make sure you're wearing the proper PPE for the task. Thick gloves and safety glasses are a must. If you have one, a full face shield is preferred. Next, slow down, stay calm, and assess the situation. If there's a significant amount of pressure and the coupler is difficult to move, do not attempt to force the coupler off the fitting. You may break the fitting and spray lubricant, potentially injuring yourself or others around you. For high-pressure connections where you can move the coupler without using a significant amount of force, wrap the coupler and fitting with a thick rag or other thick material to act as a shield, and attempt to slowly and carefully rock the coupler back and forth on the fitting to find a point where the pressure will relieve. To relieve extremely high pressure without the risk of snapping the fitting, loosen the fitting to relieve the pressure pushing against the backside of the dirt excluding ball check. This step reduces the probability of pushing the dirt excluding ball check out the fitting tip at a high velocity. Attempt to remove the coupler from the fitting next. For our battery-powered grease guns, we offer a pressure relief valve that takes the place of the check plug. Simply open this valve to relieve the pressure in the hose, then remove the coupler from the fitting. To relieve pressure in manual grease guns, bulk dispensing control valves, or battery-powered grease guns without installed pressure relief valves, loosen the hose at the gun outlet slowly and allow the pressure to bleed through the threads. Do this slowly to avoid lubricant spray. As added protection, wrap the coupler or hose with a thick rag or other thick material to shield from potential lubricant discharge. If done correctly, the coupler should now be loose and ready to disconnect using the correct method. With pressure relieved in all portions of the system, bearing or joint is now safe to inspect and service in accordance with the maintenance procedures outlined by either the bearing manufacturer or your organization for contaminated or impacted bearings. This is also the time to reassess the frequency of performing maintenance cleaning and relubrication procedures and updating lubrication intervals to limit this type of issue from reoccurring. I also wanted to address a practice I've observed personally and seen documented as a workaround currently circulating the internet. This pertains to the practice of unthreading the coupler sleeve to loosen the jaws for an easier connection to the fitting. The hydraulic coupler was not designed to be used in this manner, and by loosening the sleeve could potentially lead to a loose connection between the hydraulic coupler and fitting, which could cause a failure during dispensing. So please do not follow this method. Please follow the angle on, angle off approach. For those unique situations where the standard coupler is not sufficient for the application or the fitting is difficult to reach, we offer a variety of different couplers and quick change adapters for use in those hard to reach locations. And for convenience, if you are looking at speed, while the standard coupler was designed for speed in mind, we now have our lever action coupler, which allows for easy connection to and removal from the fitting without having to twist the coupler off. If the location of the fitting is still a problem or potentially creates unwanted downtime to lubricate, it may be time to step up to remote lubrication, such as this example panel using one of our header blocks to relocate the fittings outside a bulkhead or away from confined locations. This also consolidates fittings to one centralized location for easy access and quick lubrication, and by doing so, it sets you one step closer to eventually upgrading to an automated system. That's all we have for you today. I hope we were able to help you better understand our Alemite hydraulic system and how it's used. If you need any additional assistance, feel free to contact our technical support staff or area Alemite representatives. We appreciate any feedback you can spare. It will help us improve upon our information delivery and quality of product. Also, if there's a question to answer or a process you'd like to see us demonstrate, please let us know in the comments. I'm John with the technical support staff. See you next time for more tips, tricks, and know-how to using our products.